Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the night's, I forgot what day it was, September 28th, regular city council meeting. At this time, I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Actually, for 13 people, you did a great job on that, folks. I appreciate that. With that, do we hear an adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, seeing none. Remember your mic is off, Philippa, so when you want to talk, just remember that, okay? Okay. First off, we have citizens' comments. Do I have anybody signed up for citizens' comments? No. Well, we have one citizen, kind of, you're a citizen, right? Even though you work for the people. Okay, well, we made it through that. No, nobody online, correct?
Ms. LeMay, you don't want to make any comments?
I don't.
Oh, she made them personally out there.
You're always welcome.
Nobody? Okay. With that, then we'll do our presentation. First up is Republic Services regarding upcoming rates restructuring for solid waste. Wendy Weicker, welcome. You don't look like Wendy, buddy, but that's okay.
I'll just start us off though.
Okay, thank you.
This is the second touch for the proposed rate restructuring for our solid waste contract. On August 11th, Wendy Weicker was from Republic Services was presented the process by which the restructuring would occur. Council asked a couple of questions which were answered during the meeting, and tonight Wendy's here to provide a brief presentation and answer questions that may have come up since that first meeting.
All right, good evening, Mayor Johnson and Council. Wendy Weicker, for the record, Republic Services. I'm here before you again. Thank you for the grace for presenting the bulk of this material last August while I was on vacation. It's a pleasure to be here in person. I have a few slides that will look familiar. They're similar to the ones that I presented back in August, and this is just to remind you and your citizens about the King County rate restructure. And again, thank you to Councilmember Councilmember who's been involved in this for years. So you already have an expert in this topic, and I'm sure you've heard plenty about it in your executive sessions and discussions around sustainability. So my first slide, we could advance it. Not sure who's driving the slide deck.
There you go.
There we go. Okay. This is just to remind us all that King County put forward a rate restructure proposal a couple of years ago. It took us all a couple of years with our cities and our hauler partners to kind of figure out the math and figure out how this was going to work with all the contract cities we have and with all of the UTC areas that we have. And in the last 9 months, we've all been working fast and furiously within the cities and the county and the UTC. And here we are in the 11th hour because this interlocal between all of us has to be done by September 30th. And as we all know, October 1st is around the corner. And in fact, King County released the fixed annual charge numbers just Tuesday night. So we've been computing rates and we know what those rates will be. I just transmitted those to staff today, but essentially what King County is doing is moving to a utility model for solid waste services in the county. And that is they're creating the infrastructure that they need to fund, as well as the variable cost that comes with all of the volume that crosses the scale houses and eventually makes its way to the Cedar Hill regional landfill. This is allowed by the interlocal that the city has with the county, and it's now going to be part of the contract that you have with Republic Services going forward. And you're not alone in this work, and your staff, I'm sure, has heard about it with all the MSWAC conversations. And again, Councilmember Councilmember has been involved with MSWAC and the official King County SWAC to kind of work through all the details of this. And the fixed annual charge has been rather complicated, and I'm happy to finally land this plane. So on the next slide, we get to the reason for all of this work, which is the zero waste policy that the county has and that the cities have to try to reduce waste and try to get to that reduce, reuse, recycle as much of the circular economy as we can build. That's where the county is going. That's where the cities are going. And this rate restructure follows Lake Forest Park's commitment to the RE+ pledge that I think was passed a few months ago in this city. We're trying to divert resources away from the landfill, and that includes recycling as well as organics. We're trying to reduce it at the stream, and this rate restructure facilitates all of that work by sustaining the infrastructure while focusing, and again, on that reduction in volume that eventually makes its way to the transfer stations and then the landfill. This fixed rate revenue stream reduces the volatility in rate increases over time as well. So there's a lot more, hopefully, predictability as we can sort of map where we're getting to reduce, reuse, recycle. The next slide shows how this fixed annual charge works and sort of, again, illustrates the utility model for any of your citizens that want to dig deeper. This slide deck, I'm sure, will be available, but the fixed annual charge for Lake Forest Park is that little gray area at the top, and the tipping fee is the blue below. You'll see it's the same model, but we've just broken it into two components, again, so that we can have the infrastructure charge allocated to Lake Forest Park's percentage share, and then the tipping fee comes up with this combined commercial rate that is part of the rate model that you'll see once your staff has a chance to review it and approve it. We'll put it on the website, so it'll be out there in the public domain. And the next slide talks about, again, how this utility model will take effect on January 1st, 2024. So we're going to take the next 3 months to communicate that on the websites. And again, communicate to any customers who want to know why this change is happening and how it's all part of the sustainability work that we're doing. The fixed annual charge was just released. It's part of the rates that will be combined, but on the back end, everyone paying attention to this will know that the rate is made up of these two components. And King County is going to adjust this annually, so you will see this again next year at this time. And then the next slide is a reminder again of knowing what to throw in which bin. So recycling and organics diversion from landfills really requires a lot of education, outreach, and coordinated efforts with customers through the commercial sector, the residential sector, and the multifamily sector to really get the right materials in the bin so that we can capture recoverable materials in the recycle bin, get the organics over to composting, and then again, try to reduce as much garbage as possible, getting to that Cedar Hills landfill, which we'll be filling up here pretty shortly. With that, I'm happy to take any questions or again, thank you and your team, and certainly Councilmember Castro for being part of this work for the last several years. It has not been an easy lift on top of everything else cities are dealing with. So really appreciate your work and partnership in helping us help the county get this done.
Council. Philippa.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Wendy, for coming and joining. I'm sorry I can't be there with you tonight, but thank you for coming and joining the council. Wendy, do we know numbers yet? Do we know what the impact will be on our residential customers when it comes to the monthly bill or quarterly bills that they will be paying in the future?
We do. In fact, I just got those numbers earlier today, so I haven't had a chance to dig through Lake Forest Parks, but they were just transmitted this afternoon about 3 o'clock. So I can have staff send those to you and the rest of the council shortly. Once you guys pass this rate restructure and review those numbers and that math in the next week or two, those are the numbers that'll be notified in public newspapers. And then we'll also put those rates on the website so folks can see kind of what 2023 rates are, as well as 2024. And after January 1st, we'll take down the 2023 rates so it's clear. King County has also offered to put together kind of an FAQ that we can also put on the website that helps explain again what the county's purpose is in making this change and how it's related to the RE+ work. So we can put that document on the website as well, and then make sure that your team, my team, and anybody who calls the call center will be able to answer those questions. But the rates are as consistent as they would have been with King County's typical increase, which is dependent on their costs and charges. I believe last year, the disposal increase was about 9 or 10%. And then with Republic's, whatever CPI is at that time, the blended rates typically go up between 5 and 12%. So I'm not sure what the numbers are now, but I will take a look and make sure staff sends those your way. There's a service component to the rates as well as King County's disposal, and those get blended. That's what customers see on their bills. So if you want to get into rate modeling and explanations, it's rather complicated for most citizens that are just annoyed their bills are going up in general.
All right, well, thank you very much. We'll look forward to getting those numbers.
Anybody else? Oh, you did a great job because there's no questions. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, just so you know, if you're going to try to get away with anything, we do have our city attorney, Anne Marie Soto, on the line with us. So if you thought Kim wasn't here and it was free for all night, it's not.
We'll behave.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to, we're going to talk about discussion regarding building fees and fee adjustments. Welcome, Calvin. We always look forward to your presentations.
I'm sorry.
We always look forward to your presentations.
Okay. This is first touch of the new building code valuations. The ICC does two schedules, okay, two fee schedules. One is based off of square footage and the other one is based off of bid fees. I just wanted to clarify that there's two different tables. Okay, one you see here is square footages are used for new construction and additions. The other bid table, I think Matt might have it there. We base that off of the bid that we get from the customer, okay, or contractor. The ICC does studies twice a year, February and August. We wait for those new fee schedules to come out, and then we do comparables between the other jurisdictions around us. For me, it's Bellevue, Shoreline, Kenmore, Bothell, all the different areas. And we stay right in the middle of the fee schedules. We're there. We've been playing catch up since COVID and all that. And with the adoption of these fee schedules, we'll be right in line with everyone, which is great. Like I said, there has been some confusion on why do we have two different fee schedules. Well, you'll find out real quick that there's no way for me to take in a building that's an existing building unless I have a bid on it, because I can't do it off the square footage because the building's already built. Okay. So anyways, the comparables between the different cities were right in line with everyone else. Same with this valuation table. And again, I'm going to repeat myself. The ICC, International Code Council, does two studies and they release those studies. They're released February and August of every year. Last year, I took the February one before you. This year, I waited and I took the August schedule before you. So we'd be in line with everything. The schedule that we had from February from ICC was actually higher and it went down. And we brought it down with that. So that's kind of the gist of the whole thing, really, how it works.
Council? Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm good.
Awesome. Councilmember Goldman.
Yeah, thanks for presenting this. I mean, I'm fine with making these changes, but there's an additional change I'd like to see. Looking at the actual table that's on the website, there's some additional permit fees, plan review fee, administrative fees. And I think just in the interest of transparency, if all of those could be listed in the fee schedule, it would just be a bit more transparent for someone who's planning a project.
Yeah, Councilmember, if Matt could pull up the bid fee on there. I'm sorry, that's not the copy I have. But anyways, we've reformatted that, Jeff and I, and we've made it so that it's very clear. And if you'd like a copy of that, I'd be glad to give it to you.
Sure.
You know,
thank you.
So,
okay, anybody else? Okay. Great. Thank you, Calvin. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything you do. Thanks, buddy.
Just a quick reminder, we'll be adopting the user fee schedule as part of the budget process.
Yeah, coming up.
in weeks.
Okay, consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Been moving second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, pass unanimously. Thank you, council. On to ordinance and resolution 23-1919, authorize the mayor to sign amendment number 2 to the professional service agreement with Watershed Company, TWC, for additional assistance with the tree inventory of Lake Forest Park. Welcome, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're wrapping up the tree inventory that began this past year. You've had one amendment come before you. As you've heard, we've had a lot of trouble getting the original plots that were done in the last tree update, getting back in touch with those property owners. And so we had to do a lot of on the ground work. Due to the revolving door that is our arborist position, and now we have our assistant planner who has left us. The bulk of the work, the outreach, and just gathering the data, presenting to the planning commission, not planning commission, tree board, sorry, has fallen to the consultant. And so the reason for this $10,000 increase to their contract is for the additional work that they're having to do, because we no longer have the staff on board. And that additional outreach, we had to do mailers, we hit news flashes, we had watersheds, arborists going door to door to try and track these down. And we finally got to, I think we're at 102. Our goal was to match the last tree inventory. I think we beat it by 1 or 2. So there are sufficient funds within the planning department's contingency resources. This is what we tapped for the first amendment to this contract. There are sufficient funds, and hopefully we have no more, because we will slowly run out of funds in that contingency, but they are there. They were budgeted just for these types of events. So and just to give you an update, we should have the draft of this survey in October. That will be sent out to council and the tree board for your perusal, any comments, questions, concerns, and then a final report will come out in November. We'll bring that to the tree board and ultimately to the council. So I stand for any questions.
Yep. Councilmember Cassover.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Phil, this may not be a way we can do it, but I'm assuming there must be salary savings within the planning department, given the lack of both an assistant planner and the arborist. Are those available to backfill the contingency funds, or to in fact pay these consultancy fees, or are they in a separate piece of the budget that can't be used for this?
The latter. So the finance director will hit me if I suddenly start spending, salary for, so those are booked separately. When we look at the budget at the end of the year or at the end of the period, what we're looking at is the bottom line. So even if the contingency, say, ran over slightly and you had salary savings, what we really look at, and what you look at as a council and budget and finance committee, is that bottom line, that they didn't overspend. We don't want to go backfilling, because what that does is that does not tell a true story as you budget for future years. You need that history of where you're actually spending those dollars, and you can track that. And so we will just, we still have sufficient funds there. And so we will just leave everything alone and just spend them where they're appropriately allocated from.
Deputy Mayor French.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually don't have any questions. I'm broadly supportive of this. Thank you, Administrator Hill, for bringing it to us. This body has several times has indicated our support for, if we do not have the resources, to make sure that staffing resources, to make sure that we allocate budget funds to contract out, and this is an appropriate use of this. And I appreciate that there's additional funds, and that we don't have to come back. You don't have to come back to ask us for additional funds, but just for the authorization. So I'm fully supportive of this, and love to see this also on the project management side as well.
Yes.
So this is currently listed under for action. So are
Correct.
you requesting council to make action this evening?
I am.
Okay.
Because this work is continuing, basically running that budget in the red right now. And so we need this to wrap up the project.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was
going to make a question.
Do you have a question?
No, he's going to make a motion.
Yeah.
I'd move to suspend the three-touch rule for this issue as it's time sensitive.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second to remove the three-touch rule on ordinance 23-1919. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Passes unanimously. Now we'll move on to the motion. Would somebody like to make the motion?
Yep, I will move resolution 23-1919, authorizing the mayor to sign amendment number 2 to the professional services agreement with the Watershed Company for additional assistance with a tree inventory of Lake Forest Park.
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? Philippa, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Sounds like it passed unanimously. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Phil. I think I would be talking for all of us. We'd really like to see this done because we're all interested in what it's going to tell us.
We can sell it something really cool.
We've been talking about this for quite a long time. So, okay, with that, we're going to move on to resolution number 23-1920, amending the 2023 user fee related to the tree permit and the right-of-way corridor project tree permit. Welcome,
Thank you.
Public Works Director.
Well, tonight we're looking for your approval to amend the permit fees for the two tree permits that were approved earlier this month. After further review, the permit fee for the tree permit and the right-of-way corridor tree project tree permit should be revised to $120 per tree from $72.50 per tree. Our permitting staff has a base permit fee of $120 to account for all costs to create, review, maintain, and archive such permits. This revision aligns with the tree permit fees for the associated costs expensed by the city for the life cycle of the permit and is consistent with our other base permit fee. So at this point, I'd like to again seek your approval for adjusting that from $72.50 to $120 for the permit fee.
Any questions? Yes, Councilmember Riddle.
For the period of time where we did not have a fee that covered all of our costs, did we incur unrecoverable costs during that period? Is that what we're hearing?
We have done some analysis over the last year or so with all of our permit fees to try to get them in alignment where they should be, and this would be in alignment that would correct that
going forward. Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, Deputy Mayor French.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Director Perigo. Just a question. So are we amending this? We normally amend the user fee schedule as part of the budget process. Are we amending this now?
That is my request.
That we would
For
be
those-
happy to
for
do
those two
that.
items.
Thank you.
I hear
Okay.
October is a big tree month. It's a good idea to
Okay.
do that now.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anybody like to move this?
I would like to go ahead and move resolution.
I'd like to suspend.
Oh, I'm sorry. We do need to suspend the three-touch rule. I'd like to go ahead and move it that we suspend the three-touch rule regarding resolution 23-1920.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and second to remove the three-touch rule on resolution number 23-1920. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, thank you, council. Moving on. Would anybody like to move resolution 23-1920?
I'll go for that too. I'd like to move resolution 23-1920, amending the 2023 user fees related to the tree permits and the right-of-way corridor project tree permit.
Second.
Thank you. Been moved and second. Any other discussion? See none. All those in favor of resolution number 23-1920, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimously. Thank you, Jeff, very much. Okay, council, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but you're about 9 minutes away from breaking our council time record. So if you want to keep.
Oh, we haven't gotten to council discussion yet.
Well, that's what I'm trying to warn you about. If you guys don't want to talk a lot tonight, we could actually break the record, which has been standing for a couple of years now, if I think so. So,
Get to the football game?
yeah, the Packers are playing
I
tonight.
know. Oh, so I shouldn't tell you the score.
No, yeah, I don't care. It's on Amazon TV. It's
I
not
know.
like you can watch it. Can any council discussion or action at this time? Yes, sir.
I'd like to move that we excuse our distinguished colleague, Councilmember Bodie.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. All those in favor of excusing Councilmember Bodie, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Nay.
All right. There's one tradition that hasn't stopped, so that's perfect. Okay, any other business? Okay, seeing none. Council committee reports. Have we had any committee meetings?
We just had budget and finance,
Just
so.
finance. Yeah, just for the edification of the public, if you missed the meeting, it's been recorded. Excellent introduction from the staff. Thank you, Dr. Vaughn and Mayor Johnson. For the mid-biannual budget discussion. We have a series of other meetings coming up in the future, as well as a number of hearings that will occur at the beginning of November. Director Vaughn, I'm forgetting the date. I don't have it in front of me. October, straddling in November. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, council member reports. Councilmember Pertani?
Sure.
Okay.
So really briefly, we had a climate planning coordination meeting with our consultant, and one of the exciting outcomes of that was there's up to $500,000 for cities like Lake Forest Park to incorporate climate planning into their comprehensive plan. So it's a grant that we will certainly pursue, since it will help not just with the climate action plan, but also with our comprehensive plan, and maybe even some of the other committees as well. So one of the things that I'd like to talk to is basically if there's members of the public out there who want to weigh in on some of these kinds of ideas, please contact me and be happy to talk to you about it.
Thank you, council member. Any other council member reports? Councilmember Cassover, you have anything?
Amazingly enough, no.
Good answer.
I have a quick one.
Councilman, Deputy Mayor Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just to let you folks know, the Sound Cities Association pick was canceled for this month. I'm not really quite sure exactly what's going on there. I wish them well. You know, they've had some staffing challenges. I'll leave it there. That's a very valuable organization to our community and to the region. And I really hope that they can find their footing again.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, nobody? Okay, one thing, I would like to thank our police department. I believe they had one of the busiest stretches in a single time they've had in a long time. 2 major incidents at one time. You guys did a great job. That just brings up the point that, you know, there is a lot of stuff going on in this world, and we are not, it does happen here, but let's try to do our best to make sure we say thank you to our police department for all the great work they do, because it's amazing. But thank you guys very much. So yeah. With that, I'm going to actually turn it over because I want to break the record. So anything from our city administrator? Nope. You all have it in the city administrator report. So I will officially, I'm going to end this meeting at 28 minutes, which I am pretty proud of all of us. So thank you, and remind Lori Bodie how much time we saved without her being here. Have a great evening. Thank you, guys.
Good night, Anne Marie.
All right.